Ladies and gentlemen, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey toward it. Every mistake I made sharpened my awareness, deepened my hunger, and shaped my grit. It gave me real-world lessons that no book, no mentor, and no theory could offer. The world often celebrates the end result, but what makes it powerful is everything that broke me before it built me. My failures weren't setbacks, they were setups. Every missed shot showed me where to aim next. Every rejection toughened my spirit. Every breakdown prepared me for a breakthrough. The reason I walk tall today isn't because I never fell. It's because I never stayed down. Each fall made me rise stronger. Failure forces you to dig deeper. When things fall apart, your character is rebuilt. I became unshakable by surviving the shake-ups. Every wrong turn I took helped eliminate confusion. I became clearer, more focused, and more precise with every failure. When you fail enough, you stop being scared of the fall. You stop tiptoeing, you start charging forward. Failure slowed me down. And that's how I learned timing, strategy, and the patience to wait for the right moment. I didn't find out what I was good at until I failed at what I wasn't. Failure carved the path toward my truth. Success tasted sweeter because it was paid for in failure. It was earned. It was real. It was mine. Failure wasn't just a painful detour. It was the most important part of the journey. When I look back, I realize success didn't teach me anything. It just rewarded me. But failure reshaped me. It stripped me down and exposed my weaknesses. It pointed out where I was blind, where I was arrogant, where I thought I knew but clearly didn't. It humbled me, broke my ego, and made me rebuild. Not from fantasy, but from truth. Every failure forced me to look in the mirror and ask the hard questions. What did I miss? What do I need to change? Am I willing to do what it takes next time? And with each mistake, each defeat, each heartbreak, I grew. Not because it was easy, but because it was real. I learned how to be patient when nothing seemed to be working. I learned how to focus when my plans fell apart. I learned how to keep moving even when everything inside me screamed to quit. I became tougher, wiser, more grounded, more strategic. I stopped assuming things would work out just because I wanted them to. And I started learning how to make them work out. It was in the failures that I discovered grit. It was in the failures that I developed discipline. It was in the failures that I found my why. Success was the outcome, but failure was the architect. Success might look like the finish line, but failure was the training ground. It made me sharper. It made me stronger. It taught me not just how to win, but how to endure until I did. Because success, when it finally arrived, didn't surprise me. I had already earned it in the shadows. I had already bled for it in silence. I had already rehearsed its steps 100 times in the fires of failure. And when it came, I was ready, because I had learned more from falling than I ever could from flying. Falling isn't the hard part, staying down is. And I made the decision early on. I might hit the ground, but I will never stay there. Every time life knocked me flat, I faced a choice, to give up or get up. And I chose to get up. Not because it was easy, not because I wasn't bruised, not because I didn't doubt myself, but because something inside me refused to stay broken. Standing back up after failure is more than just an action. It's a mindset. It means saying to the world, you haven't seen the last of me. It's rising when everything hurts. It's showing up when you're embarrassed. It's choosing faith over fear. And the truth is, the ability to stand again, to push through humiliation, fear, and defeat, is what separates those who succeed from those who stop. Each fall taught me how strong I really was. Not in muscles or bravado, but in persistence, in willpower, in inner strength. When the world laughed, I learned how to ignore it. When the plan collapsed, I learned how to adapt. And when nothing seemed to be working, I reminded myself, you've stood back up before. You can do it again. Standing after falling became my superpower. It became a rhythm. Fall, rise, adjust. Fall, rise, sharpen. Fall, rise, grow. I stopped fearing the fall because I knew I had already mastered the rise. And every time I got back up, I came back with more clarity, more hunger, more resolve. You only fail when you stay down. But if you rise, again and again, eventually you rise so tall that failure can't reach you anymore. Mental resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you earn. And I earned mine through every sleepless night, every heartbreak, every crushing defeat that dared me to quit. When things didn't go my way, I didn't just build strategies. I built strength. I didn't just adjust my plans. I adapted my mind. I didn't just take the hit. I learned how to absorb the impact and keep moving forward. At first, failure shook me. It made me question everything. My decisions, my abilities, even my worth. But the more I faced it, the more I realized something powerful. Pain doesn't break you. It reveals you. When the pressure mounted, I didn't shatter. I solidified. Every disappointment became a brick in the foundation of my mental toughness. Every obstacle became an opportunity to stretch my limits. Resilience isn't loud. It doesn't scream or demand attention. It's quiet. It's forged in private battles, in moments where no one claps for you, where no one even knows the storm you're fighting inside. I built it one moment at a time, when I kept going despite the exhaustion, when I stayed focused despite the distractions, when I believed in myself despite the silence. And that resilience became my armor. It allowed me to keep pushing when the odds were against me. It gave me the calm in chaos, the clarity in confusion, the fire in frustration. While others broke under the weight of failure, I learned how to carry it, how to grow from it, how to use it as fuel. You can't fake resilience. You can't pretend to be strong. You either earn it through battle, or you don't. And I did, brick by brick, failure by failure, until nothing could stop me, because I had already survived everything that tried. Failure has a way of revealing the truth, fast and brutally. Every time I fell short, I discovered another method, strategy, idea, or approach that didn't work. And while that may sound frustrating, it was actually priceless, because knowing what doesn't work is just as important as knowing what does. It's like clearing the weeds before planting something real. Every dead end I faced, every wrong path I took, helped narrow the route to the right one. Each failed attempt removed confusion. It exposed my false assumptions. It humbled my ego. It taught me to question everything, not in fear, but in curiosity. Why didn't this plan succeed? What step was flawed? Was I aiming at the wrong target, or just using the wrong tools? I stopped guessing. I started refining. Failure became my filter. It showed me where I was wasting time, energy, and emotion. It made me more efficient, more precise. Instead of chasing every idea, I learned how to test, how to tweak, how to eliminate what didn't serve the vision. That process of elimination, of crossing things off the list, brought me closer to the real solution. Thomas Edison said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That mindset changed everything for me. Because each no meant I was closer to a yes. Each mistake was simply another puzzle. Each mistake was simply another puzzle. And over time, that clarity became my edge. Others were still guessing. I wasn't. I had tried, failed, adjusted, and grown. I wasn't lucky. I was focused. Because failure had taught me where not to go, so I could finally find the path that worked. In the beginning, I feared failure, like it was a monster hiding in the dark, always lurking, always ready to strike. I hesitated. I second-guessed. I held back. Why? Because I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to be judged, laughed at, or seen as weak. But the more I failed, the more I realized fear of loss was doing more damage than loss itself ever could. What I thought I was protecting, my pride, my reputation, my comfort, was actually keeping me small. The moment I stopped being afraid to lose, I started winning in ways I never imagined. Failure didn't destroy me. It trained me. It taught me that risk isn't something to run from. It's something to run into, because that's where growth lives. Each time I took a risk and fell, I didn't shrink. I expanded. I learned. I adapted. I became bolder. And eventually risk stopped feeling like a threat and started feeling like freedom. The chains of what if I fail broke and were replaced by what if I don't try. That shift changed everything. You can't create greatness while playing it safe. You can't build a powerful life while clinging to comfort. I had to leap without guarantees. I had to move without a perfect map. I had to bet on myself when no one else would. And yes, I lost sometimes. I lost time. I lost money. I lost sleep. But I gained something far more valuable. Courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act despite it. Once I made peace with loss, risk became my ally. It became my teacher. It became the engine behind every bold decision I made. And those bold decisions, they're why I stand where I am today. Because when I stopped fearing the fall, I finally learned how to fly. Failure has a way of slowing you down. And at first I hated that. I wanted success fast. I wanted progress now. I was chasing results, outcomes, rewards. But life had a different plan. Every time I rushed, I stumbled. Every time I forced things, they fell apart. And so through failure, I was introduced to a deeper, quieter strength. Patience. At first, patience felt like weakness, like waiting in silence while the world moved on, like watching others win while I was stuck rebuilding. But over time I realized, patience is not passivity. It's power under control. It's the ability to delay gratification, to trust the process, and to keep showing up even when the results haven't caught up yet. Failure taught me that meaningful things take time. Skills take time. Wisdom takes time. Mastery takes time. And there are no shortcuts. Only steps. Steps you must take. Steps you must repeat. Steps that don't always feel exciting, but they are essential. I began to understand the rhythm of growth. Some seasons are for planting. Others are for pruning. Some are for watering in silence. And eventually, when you've waited, when you've worked, when you've endured, comes the season of harvest. But only for those who didn't rush it. Only for those who didn't quit in the waiting. Patience gave me endurance. It gave me perspective. It gave me calm in the chaos. And more importantly, it gave me the power to stay in the game long enough to actually win it. While others burned out chasing speed, I kept moving with depth and direction. Because failure slowed me down, just enough for me to truly grow. And from that slowness, I developed a force stronger than talent, stronger than timing, and stronger than luck. The unstoppable power of patience. It wasn't during the easy times that I discovered what I was made of. It was during the moments when everything went wrong. When I failed. When I failed. When my plans fell apart. And nothing worked. That's when I saw who I really was. Struggle has a way of peeling back the layers. It strips away the illusion. It removes the noise. And what's left behind is raw, honest, undeniable truth. I used to think I was good at certain things. I believed I had strengths. Until life tested them. Until the pressure mounted. Until I failed. And that's when I saw the difference between what I thought I could do and what I was truly capable of. In the fire of failure, I found the things I was really built for. I found out I was a strategist, not just a dreamer. I found out I was more resilient than I gave myself credit for. I found out I had leadership inside me. Creativity inside me, discipline inside me. But those things only came to the surface when I was backed into a corner. Success often highlights your results, but failure reveals your roots. What are you grounded in? What are you consistent with? What do you fight for when nothing is working? Those answers, they come through struggle. The irony is I never would have discovered my deepest strengths without being pushed to my limits. I had to be shaken to awaken. I had to be challenged to change. And I had to be broken down to be built back stronger. The struggle showed me the parts of myself I had overlooked. The parts I had never used. The parts I was born to activate. But only if I was willing to go through the storm. And once I found those strengths, I started to win. Not just in results, but in identity. Because now I know who I am. And I found it. Through failure. Success didn't arrive at my doorstep, gift wrapped in luck, or handed to me on a silver platter. It came at a price. And I paid for it with scars. Not just the physical ones, but the emotional bruises. The mental battle. The nights I sat alone questioning everything. People see the victory, the outcome, the highlight reel. But they don't see the pain, the pressure, the process. Every scar I carry has a story of a risk taken, of a lesson learned, of a moment I could have quit but didn't. I've bled for this. I've cried for this. I've lost for this. I've been misunderstood, doubted, ridiculed, overlooked. But still I showed up. Still I kept moving. And every time I was knocked down, I stood back up with one more scar and one more reason to keep going. Success, real success, is earned, not by avoiding failure, but by walking straight through it. Not by being perfect, but by being persistent. I didn't just want to win. I wanted to deserve the win. And that meant putting in the work when no one was watching. That meant believing when nothing was going right. That meant fighting through fatigue, failure, and fear over and over again. My scars are my proof. Proof that I was in the fight. Proof that I didn't give up when it got hard. Proof that I was willing to pay the price while others watched from the sidelines. They're not signs of weakness. They're evidence of commitment. And now when I stand tall in success, I don't just feel proud. I feel ready. Because I didn't stumble into this. I didn't luck into this. I earned this. One scar, one fall, one failure at a time. I failed more times than I can count. I fell on my face when I thought I was ready. I got laughed at when I tried. I got silence when I asked. I felt alone, lost, doubted. Not just by others, but by myself. I broke down behind closed doors. I questioned if it was all worth it. But each time I failed, I learned. Each time I fell, I rose. And with every scar, I built strength. With every mistake, I built mastery. What looked like failure was never the end. It was the making of me. I didn't succeed because I avoided failure. I succeeded because I walked through it, owned it, and used it as fuel. I stopped fearing the fall and started trusting the rise. I realized failure doesn't kill dreams. Quitting does. And I wasn't going to quit. Not after everything I'd been through. Not after all the nights I kept going. I failed so many times. And that is exactly why I succeeded. Because I didn't just survive failure. I let it shape me into someone who couldn't be broken. I failed more times than I can count. I failed when I was confident. I failed when I was scared. I failed in front of people. I failed in private, where the silence was louder than the noise. I failed when I tried my best. I failed when I didn't know what I was doing. I failed when I had the resources. I failed when I had nothing. I failed when I thought I had it figured out. I failed even after I prayed, after I planned, after I gave it everything I had. I failed when I was hopeful. I failed when I was desperate. I failed so many times. I lost count. And each of those failures tried to convince me to stop. But I didn't. I kept going. I kept waking up to disappointment and turning it into discipline. I kept showing up to empty rooms, to blank stares, to rejection emails, to long nights of nothing to show for my effort. I kept standing back up with tired legs and a determined heart. I failed so much that failure became a language I understood, a rhythm I danced with, a classroom I sat in, and I studied. I learned. I adapted. I fell forward. I rose slower but stronger. I cried quietly and fought loudly. I lost friends, lost confidence, lost time, but I found something greater, resilience. I discovered a version of myself that only failure could reveal. I stopped looking for applause. I stopped chasing perfection. I stopped waiting for permission. I just kept going. While others watched from the sidelines, I was in the game. While others talked, I tried. While others doubted, I did. And while I didn't win, at first I was building. I was growing. I was becoming. People say success is sweet, and it is, But it only tastes that way because of the bitterness that came before. The hunger, the pain, the pressure, the nights I stayed up doubting everything. Success feels different when you've earned it with wounds. It hits different when it was paid for in heartbreak, in failure, in years of trying, and failing, and trying again. I got here not because I was lucky, not because I was the smartest, not because everything went right. I got here because I didn't stop when everything went wrong. I failed so many times. I became immune to the shame of it. I stopped hiding. I stopped pretending. I started growing. Every nod was another push to refine my yes. Every closed door taught me how to build my own. Every broken plan taught me how to bend without breaking. I failed forward. I failed fiercely. And I kept walking through the fire until the fire no longer burned me. It built me. They told me to give up. I didn't. They told me I wasn't good enough. I got better. They laughed at me. I turned their laughter into fuel. They looked away. I looked inward. They said it would never work. I said, watch me. I stopped trying to avoid failure and started using it. I studied it. I respected it. I listened to what it taught me. I realized that failure wasn't my enemy. It was my greatest mentor. It didn't block my path. It was the path. And walking through that path gave me clarity, gave me courage, gave me capacity. I built confidence, not from compliments, but from surviving storms. I learned to believe in myself, not because others believed in me, but because I had no choice but to believe when no one else did. That's what failure gave me. It gave me grit. It gave me stamina. It gave me authenticity. I didn't skip steps. I didn't jump the line. I stayed through the hard part. And that's why I am who I am today. I failed. And then I failed again. And then again. And again. And every time I asked, what can I learn? What can I change? What can I do better? That mindset changed everything. I stopped being afraid of the outcome. I started focusing on the effort. I stopped chasing perfection. I started chasing progress. And little by little, the climb got higher. The days got better. The results began to appear. The wins came, not overnight, but over every night. I kept showing up. The wins came in whispers before they came in applause. They came in lonely moments before they came in legacy. The same failure that tried to stop me became the very reason I couldn't be stopped. I failed so many times. I ran out of ways to fail. And what was left was success. Real, earned, soul-deep success. So to anyone watching, listening, or reading this right now, don't run from your failures. Don't hide from them. Don't hate them. Learn from them. Let them sharpen you. Let them stretch you. Let them reveal the fighter in you, the dreamer in you, the builder in you. You are not weak because you failed. You are not broken because you failed. You are not behind because you're struggling. You are becoming. You are growing. You are doing what most won't. And that's why one day, you'll have what most don't. The road to success is covered in failure. But if you keep walking, one step at a time, one fall at a time, one rise at a time, you will arrive. And when you do, you won't just have success. You'll have earned it. And no one, not the world, not your critics, not even your own fear, will be able to take that from you. I failed so many times. And that's why I succeeded. Not in spite of the pain, not around the struggle, but because of it. Because I kept going. Because I kept learning. Because I kept believing. And if I can, so can you. Thank you.